Transmitting to you from Old Heart Radio.
Prepare to have your bones chilled and your hairs raised. It's the WacArnold's Brothers podcast.
Welcome home.
What up? Oh, well, you heard it. I heard it. That means that it's here. It's time for WacArnold's Brothers to magically appear. Oh, God. That was rough. I love your reaction there. It's just woof.
Well, it's not the worst. You know?
It's not the worst. I will say that I've probably said worse. Anyway, we're here. This is episode 36, if I believe. 36? Yeah, we're in there, man.
I think it's 37, but I could be wrong.
No, you're probably right. I think I've labeled it 36 on accident. No, I know it. I post a podcast. The last one was 36. Because anyway, any hoozle. We're here. And
we got one that, you know, I'm surprised we haven't talked about sooner, but it's a juicy one. It's like one of those it's got a huge cult following is basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, I didn't even realize it, but you know, a member of that huge cult following appears to be Eli Roth, who's like gone on record before, like being this is my fucking jam.
Yeah.
And, you know, like there's so many elements that, as a horror fan, like you can love about this movie, you know,
totally
the style, the sort of like bad overdubbing at times, like the amazing kill shots, like it's kind of
like, it's like a mix between like splatter films, and it's got some like giallo elements. It's also got some like exploitation film elements. But yeah, I love the bad dubbing because it's like it was a co-production between Spain, US, and Puerto Rico. And it was filmed in Boston, so it's so random, but yeah.
It's just all over the place, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah. So 1982's Pieces, man. Like this, and yes, this was a piece. Like, so it like opens up to like, you know, Boston. There's like this like
1942.
There's some like this like little boy, and he's working on a puzzle.
Right.
That puzzle's not just any puzzle.
I don't think they made puzzles like that in 1942. It looked like a 70s or 80s like porn picture. You know what I mean?
That's what I was thinking. I was like, "There's no way that this is from the 40s." But this kid is like piecing together this like nude lady, you know, on her puzzle, and his mom discovers him and has just like the best fucking reaction, dude. She just like smacks the shit out of him and is like, "Where'd you get this smut? Like it reminds me of your father," and all this like wild stuff.
Yeah. She like breaks his mirror and
oh my god, dude, that shot,
him. Yeah.
The mirror shot, because they replay it like right afterwards.
Yeah, she also threatens to. She's like, I swear I'll kill you if I see you with this stuff again.
Yeah, like she freaks the fuck out, and then like tells him to go get a plastic bag. And at first I was really confused. She's like, "Go get me a plastic bag so I can burn all this."
Yeah, she like starts digging through his shit and finds like a bunch of porno mags, and she's like, "I know you've got more in here, you pervert."
Yeah, dude, like this kid's got like stashes, man. He's got mags in the dresser. He's got mags in his fucking like toy chest. Like,
yeah, it's pretty funny.
But like the
long story short, he doesn't come back with the plastic bag.
No, he comes back with something a little more heavy duty. He fucking he just like shows up behind his mom with a fucking axe and just starts thwacking her, just like right in the fucking dome, dude. Like it was some great shots. It was some great like hit shots, you know, and But like, holy cow, like it was just like right off the bat, like boom, this kid is bloodthirsty. And not only that, man, so like you see like a neighbor kind of like knocking at the door or some shit trying to get in, and she's like a little like, what's going on? But you see also like the kid, you see what else he's doing. And at one point in time he's like sawing something that you find out in a second, but like there's blood splattered everywhere.
Yeah,
like,
it's just
it's a gruesome scene. Yeah,
most definitely.
like, but eventually, so as the boy's like trying to repiece his puzzle together, which he seems very eluded by, like he can't quite figure it out, and the police and the neighbor get in, and they walk into the crime scene as the kid is hiding.
Right.
So it's an interesting.
He hides in. There's like 2 closets in the room, and he hides in one. Yeah, and they open the first closet, and this is what you're talking about, where you see him hacking away with the axe, and you see his mother's head just like on this dresser in the attic. Yeah. Imagine walking into that. Like that is like I'm sure that
it would have been a fucking unsettling thing to walk into. Damn. There's
kind of in a
blood splatter and porno, Max.
And then kind of in a scene like reminiscent of Mikey, they they find the kid in the closet, and the kid's like, "Mommy, like, where's mommy?" And then we get this the lady that was knocking on the door is like apparently she's like the next door neighbor. She was like, I was worried about her when she wouldn't answer the door, and then she mentions that the kid has an aunt that lives about an hour away that he can go live with.
Yeah, and that's kind of like it just cuts right to credits, which the credits have a really cool font. Hey man, I've got to.
Is that Bowie?
Yeah, I gotta go let him out. I'm sorry.
You can hear that. Yeah.
I know. I'm gonna pause this real quick.
So right. Like you're saying, it has some. What were you saying about the title?
It has some really. I love the fucking font, dude. I was like, maybe I'm thinking about tattoos too much, but I was like, I would love to get some sort of like lettering in like a font like that. Like I just loved that what they used. It was really cool, like the kind of like droopy kind of font. So, totally. But I don't know. I just thought it was like that, like just that opening, that fucking hardcore opening sequence, and then like the cut. But where it picks up is just like so fucking bizarre to me, dude.
Yeah, because we're 40 years later now. We learned
blasted 40 years into the future, and it's like, so it's just this lady on a skateboard, just. Oh
right. My God! Well, before then, we're shown like this is what I'm talking about, where some of the like Giallo elements, where we see this gloved figure in black clothing. He opens up this box. There's a pair of bloody shoes, and there's also the shirt that the kid's Timmy is the kid's name from the opening sequence. Mm-hmm. There's also the shirt that the kid's mom was wearing inside this box, which looks like it's still aged well after 40 years, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And there's also a picture of his mom with like a red X through her face.
That's right, man. So. And it's right, like it's like kind of, it's just so shrouded in mystery, and that's what I loved about like some of the elements of this movie. Is just you get those like shots where it's just like some gloved hands doing something, and it just gives you that mystique. But yeah, clearly, like, dude, you're right, like those items in the box look like fresh off the fucking kill.
yeah right. But I guess if he's had them for that long and maybe taking care of them, you know what I mean, whoever the killer, Timmy, whoever, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Listen, Timothy. Do you think he goes by Timothy now?
I don't know. But yeah, then we get this. There's like 3 scenes in this movie that are so out there, fucking bonkers. And this first one isn't the most absurd, but it is pretty absurd. This skateboarding sequence you're talking about.
So it's just so redonkulous. It's like, like. this lady like zooming around on a board. You get some shots of like from her perspective as well as like her kind of like on the board.
Yeah, it looks like something that would have happened in like Animal House or something, where she's just like
exactly. It's like all of a sudden you get this like weird zany comedy moment where it's like, you're like, whoa, riding the pavement waves. You know, like and then like I love that she's just like saying hi to strangers, hi, and like people are just like, what? Like it's great. But the peak moment is like you see these movers moving this great like mirror pane,
gigantic fucking mirror,
huge, and the skater just like, you know, doesn't see it coming, you know, comes thrashing on up, and then like next thing you know, like collides with the fucking mirror.
It's so random.
The best I can assume is that like because of the things going on, like you know, and like it shows you the smashing of the mirror like a few times, like the original smash, the repeat right after, and when they re-show it when like the gloved hands are moving stuff around during the sequence, you know,
right, it shows the flashback of the mom breaking the mirror,
and so it's like obviously that like is somehow tied with this individual,
right, because then we
so
see
random.
It is because it was like maybe whoever the killer is saw this happen. I don't know, because then it shows the figure in black then pull out another box, and this time it's the puzzle, and he starts putting it together. Yeah,
the pieces must be assembled, and then you kind of find, oh my god, the next sequence is. Again, like what I love about this movie is it just sneaks up on you with these all of a sudden like pivotal gnarly scenes, like scenes, and like this is one of them. So you come across this like I don't know, this, you know, college student, just this lady hanging out on the grass with the, you know, her skirt kind of like, you know, like a strew, and she's just minding her own. She hears this chainsaw come ripping, and she turns around and sees this dude in a mask, and you know, and she's just like, you know, like, yo, how long are you gonna be? Because this is like obviously
I'm trying to study.
Yeah. And the dude's like, oh, not long, and then. Like right after that, like the dude just comes gunning at her
in broad daylight,
middle of the fucking day. Like this might as well be the same park that lady was skating out of down, right? Like, you know, like and he just takes the fucking co-ed's head off with the damn chainsaw, man. And the epic blood splatter, dude, like, and then oh my god, like the weird small bloody stump that was like where the head is, just like, fucking perfect. It was awesome and so wild. Man. Yeah. Who does that? Middle of the day chainsaw kill in like a public space? He's going for it. I fucking love it. But that immediately sets up like, you know,
this movie has a lot of like, it goes fast and it just like jumps from scene to scene, and sometimes there's like in certain scenes there's kind of like a lot going on. Like it's a quick movie.
Yeah, and so like, you know, then like it picks up shortly after that with these detectives, I believe.
Yeah, there's Lieutenant Bracken and Sergeant Holden.
Yep. And they're like talking to the administrators of the school, and you know, sort of just, you know, like I love the description of this. Like they're like, all right, well, we don't know who it is, we don't know how it happened or whatever, the like yada yada. And then the administrator basically is like, well, from the dean, he's like, from the college standpoint, we'll just say it was an accident.
Yeah, he's trying to like just brush it under the rug, like.
I'm like, no fucking way, dude.
Yeah, we also love that. In between this scene, we also get like a quick introduction to a character named Professor Brown, who like, it's a weird scene where this student comes up and basically makes like a joke alluding to her breasts. You know, it's real quick. But then he ends up going to the office and speaking with the dean too, and meeting the two Bracken and Holden. And we learn here from the dean that Professor Brown is the professor of anatomy, and that the dean's busy right now essentially, but wants Brown to give them a tour of the campus and speak with them.
Yeah, Brown's like he's a weird dude. Like he comes off as weird. He gives off a vibe.
I feel like they try to establish like a couple red herrings in this movie, and he's
definitely.
one of them.
He is definitely one of them. I mean, I thought that was a really interesting element to the movie that kind of caught me off guard, to be honest. I was like, whoa. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. Just this character alone. But yeah, so they're setting up like the investigation of these killings, and
well, there's only one killing so far.
Yes. Excuse me. So far. But, it doesn't seem like anybody has a clue,
Right.
Not yet. So that,
and then we get another like red herring here where it shows this shot of his name's Willard. I can't think of this actor's name, but I know I've seen him in like, he was in a bunch of movies around this time period, and he always played like a big like a bodyguard character or something like that. You know what I mean? Because he is like a big imposing guy. But we get introduced to the groundskeeper Willard, who he's seen trimming a hedge with the chainsaw, which looks similar to the chainsaw that was used in the scene that just happened. And the dean comes up and talks to him about, when is his job going to be done here? And they kind of make him look creepy because he's like smiling while he's initially with the chainsaw. And then when the dean's walking away, he like makes this like joking motion of like hitting, cutting him with the chainsaw. So they stab he's another potential killer essentially.
Yeah. And again, like when I was watching this, I totally was like, oh shit. Like, who's this fucking guy, Also, really weirdly, like, I don't know, 10 feet away from him by a tree, like that scene ends with like Willard seeing some co-eds just like fucking in broad daylight by a tree.
Anything goes at this college.
Dude, this college is just rampant with everything. I'm fucking but yeah, Willard, dude, he did look familiar, so that's a good call. I'll have to look his name up. But then it takes you, I believe, to the library.
Yeah, but real quick, we get another like quick shot of the gloved figure putting together more of the puzzle, which is like a reoccurring thing. But yeah, then we go to the library.
The library, man. And this was like a strange sort of sequence because, I mean, you're just getting introduced to this character.
Kendall,
Kendall, and which you follow for most of a lot of the movie, but Kendall gets past this note like really quickly in this scene from this like established pretty girl,
this buxom blonde,
wearing this bright red USA sweater, and like Susan, I think was her name, like passes Kendall this note that just says, "I want to do it underwater.
Meet me at the pool." Yeah.
I was like, what? So, I think, like, I believe Kendall just crumpled it up and threw it away or some shit like that.
Yeah, he throws it by the trash can, and then the gloved figure is shown picking it up.
Yeah, that gloved figure, man, he moves about.
No shit.
Like stealthy motherfucker. Anyway, so then they have, Susan goes and meets with some friends in the hallway. There's just a brief Professor Brown sighting where again they kind of make him sort of look like sort of creepy. He kind of slumps back like away from the girls who are talking about him.
Yeah, one of them makes a joke like, "Wouldn't you want to make it with him?" or something like that.
I don't. Yeah, all these ladies find this dude like weirdly sexy or something. It's so strange. Like the dude just gives up. Like, anyway, he works really well. Anyway, Susan goes from there and finds herself in the pool where she's beginning to undress and wait for, her lover boy, Kendall.
Yeah, she slinks into her black bikini, and then she eventually takes the top off, and we get our first tit shot.
Dude, there's so many titties in this movie.
Well, I guess there's like 2 or 3. But later we also get a dick shot. So
there's I was thinking about that when I watched it. I was like, another movie hanging down. That's what I mean. I keep saying it, man. Some movies give you titties, some movies give you dickies, some movies give you both. Okay,
Yeah.
so there we are.
Right.
But yeah, so she's getting down. She jumps in the pool, all while this kind of cloaked and shadow figure kind of like slides in. I don't know why she wasn't paying more attention, because she hears a noise by the door and goes, Kendall, and then like just lets it go. Like,
Right.
Nobody appeared, so
Right.
But anyway, this shadowy figure sort of like lurks nearby and kind of like sees her swimming around in the pool. And oh my God, dude, I was like hoping that this was going to happen. But
Yeah.
you see, a really long, skimming net laying nearby.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
For the pool. And the dude who they do a really good job of just completely shadowing this figure. I loved the shadowed figure look, like the wide brim hat, everything's dark, you don't know who the fuck this is, but then this person like stealthily picks up the net and then just ropes fucking Susan in the pool with the net, and like she nets the Susan in the fucking pool. And like I love this, because I was like, there's like just get out. It's just so easy to just
down.
go down and go away.
But yeah, no shit, huh? But maybe but then again, like if maybe in the moment, like she was startled by it and wasn't thinking and got caught, like I don't know, but yeah,
any number of things. But she gets dragged the fuck out of the pool, though, right?
Yeah. He uses, that's pretty clever. He uses that to drag her out of the pool. And she's kind of like, maybe she sucked some water in, because she's kind of like incapacitated for a minute while the killer goes to grab the chainsaw, which was sitting nearby. But she comes to.
She's just sitting nearby.
Right.
Yeah. She comes to.
She comes to, and you see the shot of the chainsaw getting swung at her and her screaming, and it cuts away, so you don't know her fate yet. You assume she's dead, but we pop back to the library as we see this, and it never says this character's name. I think later Kendall refers to him as Goggles, but this other male student pops in and gives Kendall a note that was apparently left for him in the dean's office about a half an hour ago.
So the cloaked figure supposedly put this note in the office or something to like.
That's established later, yeah.
But,
and then we get a quick shot of the killer with this bloody garbage bag, carrying it through their house and putting it into a freezer. And you see that as he or she, whoever the killer is putting this into the freezer, there's also the decapitated head of the first victim in there.
Yeah. And that like I was just like, that was fucking cool. Like alone that they're just the shot of like the bloodied bag kind of getting like dragged a little bit, kind of picking it up but kind of dragging it. You see the weight of it. I mean, it was like some people I think might have like a beef with like scenes like this who I've might be too slow, but I like the pace of this scene like this, where it gives you just the weight of the whole fucking sequence, and so it was kind of cool. But again, like I can't say it enough, I like the mystery of this movie really got me pretty solid. So yeah, that I don't know, it's interesting that it's just like sort of, I don't know, like you don't know where the fuck this locale is either.
Right, right.
This deep freezer somewhere at the college. I don't know.
That's why I'm saying it gives you like Jalo vibes, like a lot of the movie does. But so anyway, then we're back at the pool now.
Yeah.
We see Willard coming in. He's walking with a pair of hedge trimmers, like he's coming in to maybe tend to some plants or something. But he comes in and turns the lights on just as we see Kendall like also coming in. Kendall sees Willard standing next to this bloody chainsaw, and rightfully so gets freaked out by it, so he runs out another door. For some reason, Willard decides to touch, he touches the chainsaw.
Yeah.
And gets some blood on his hand, and then he decides to follow after Kendall. But he gets as he's opening the door, he just gets bum rushed by the police. So we get this hilarious scene where he like fights them off at first, and actually in this like pretty ridiculous scene, like bashes one of them, and they sends him flying into the fucking pool.
Dude, this like was fucking redonkulous. Like he like sends one guy in the pool, he like bum rushes one dude and like throws him against the wall, and like what almost like appears to like headbutt him. And
yeah, he does.
Like, yeah. And you're just like, dude, don't fuck with Willard, man. Like,
well, he's a big guy.
Yeah, but then eventually they like like get him at gunpoint. They're like tell him to fucking knock it off. And
yeah. He gets arrested. You know what I mean?
I yeah, poor Willard. I did love like the sequence of Kendall running out of the room in this scene also, because it was just like so squirmy, like oh!
Well, it's like one of those I did kind of look like that, because it's like one of those scenes where like Kendall sees Willard and thinks that he probably did it, and then Willard sees Kendall thinking that he probably did it, but then Willard doesn't like do himself any justice by manhandling these cops when they come in. You know what I mean?
No, dude, exactly. Like you immediately look worse, my man. And shortly after this, we finally see like the whole
the carnage
of the fucking pool, and dude, that.
Yeah, it's basically it's her head and arms and legs, and her torso is missing this time.
Yeah, dude, like just lopping off all different parts, and there's just like this bloody pile of what appears to be the rest of the body, and like blood splatter on the wall. It was,
yeah, they don't shy with the blood in this movie.
No, dude, and I love it. I'm here for it, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, then the two officers, they're kind of I feel like for the longest time, most of the characters in this movie are just sort of like, I don't know what to fucking do.
Yeah, they even like Professor Brown shows up, and they ask Brown's opinion on the crime scene, if the cuts could have come from the chainsaw, and he concurs that they could. And then Bracken and Bolden are also seen going to the dean's office, and while they're walking there, they talk amongst themselves about possibly getting an undercover cop in there. And then Kendall and Goggles get a note telling them, actually it's a police officer that tells them that they're wanted for questioning in the dean's office. So
yeah, that's right. I remember, like Kendall goes like says something like, well, like do they just want they want us to like help, or are they like, are we suspects? Like they're immediately like, whoa. But yeah, and then this takes you to another meeting, I believe, with the officers and the dean name? And the fucking dean. And yeah, they're basically establishing like, we believe the killer's gonna kill again, and
he's probably someone in this school, maybe a staff member.
Yeah, exactly. And so they're trying to figure it out. They basically do tell the dean here that they plan to bring in a policewoman to pose as staff in hopes of finding the killer. You know what I mean? And I think the dean, how earlier he mentioned how, let's just sweep this under the rug. Like, we don't want any bad press for the school. You can tell like he's not exactly happy with this idea of, he doesn't want any fanfare to this situation. But yeah, it's in his way, he's trying to just keep it quiet,
But then Kendall and his buddy come in, and they get questioned. This is where we learn, this is where Bracken kind of puts the pieces together and thinks that the note was sent by the killer to make sure that Kendall didn't show up at the swimming pool in time.
Yeah, which is interesting, because then it's like, so clearly like the killer must be like just lurking around campus or something, right?
Right.
Because why would it just be so like just this particular, and I don't know, it just seemed, anyway, it's a really interesting dynamic that they just kind of make it feel like it's moving the plot line along, but it gives you this like random victim vibe. Like it could have been anybody. It just happened to be
it's
that
like,
he noticed the situation in the library and then
it's got a lot
of
like
it.
that's another element to the movie is like murder mystery, you know. It's got a lot of elements to it.
Yeah.
But it's not, but I will say that it's not like we've, you know, like, let's say, actually, it wasn't the first episode we ever did, but it was like the initial pilot episode where we talked about the Prophets Game, where that was like a movie that was trying to be a horror movie, but also a mystery movie, and just didn't get anything right. Whereas this movie, I think that it's not one of those movies that tries to fit in too many elements and doesn't do any of them justice. Like this is a good, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it like with the Prophets Game, it was like all like it was like just like a suspense movie that they really tried to be horror. And with this, they capture like all those elements, like a horror element, a fucking like they capture your bloodthirst, you know, that you want in the horror. They capture the mystery of it all. They capture like these, anyway, they capture like a lot of aesthetic that you want, and it, really well done. But
this scene kind of ends with Bracken telling the kids to keep quiet about it, and then he also gives Kendall a card and mentions that he wants him to come down to the police headquarters to speak with someone.
Which again, like, kind of makes you, you know, it just paints Kendall under suspicion, but then shortly after that, it takes you to this sequence. It's like you get these moments where you're definitely like looking from the killer's point of view, and this is one of those moments where, you know, he's like the killer's lurking by like a dance studio at the school or something.
All these girls are doing some dance aerobics, and they're practicing a number that, you know, they've put together. So, and
he like, you know, it's like peering through the little doorway, and, you know, from his perspective, you see him going, and then eventually, I don't know, there's like a break in the action. One of them like splits off from the group
to go to bathroom.
And here you get this vibe that, like, you know, she's being followed by the killer, which is kind of interesting, because you're hearing like all these like noises and creaks and, like, you know, along the way. And the killer also has like he's like always breathing heavy, or he or she's always breathing heavy. Exactly. That's how you know it's from that perspective for sure. Right. But she gets followed for a minute. She makes her way down into this like area, like a small hallway area with a couple of doors, and she goes to open one of the doors, and you think that maybe it's going to be the killer that jumps out and kills her, but no, she gets jump scared by one of her friends that's in the bathroom, and we don't get a kill scene quite yet. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. They tease you with that. It was it was nice. It was a little tease where you think that it's heading to where this chick's about to get brutally murdered, but no, it was cool. Exactly. And so then it takes you back to another scene with Kendall where it's like the next day, presumably. Is this down at the station yet? Is this? He goes down and he gets introduced to Dr. Jennings, who is a psychologist working alongside them, who wants some info so he can put together a psychological profile of the killer. Exactly. And which is interesting. They're coming at it from a bunch of different angles, and shortly after that, you get introduced to. It's pretty progressive. You get introduced to the undercover officer to be. Right. Yeah, we do. Mary. Mary Riggs. Yeah. Oh, I wonder if there's any relation to Riggs from Lethal Weapon. Maybe. Well, he's black and she's white, so I don't think so. Man. But yeah, so you get, I love this, you know, classic sort of moment where, you know, she asked her, what's his fucking name? She's like, is this job dangerous? And, you know, the lieutenant, Bracken's, I believe, he's like very, and she's like, I'll do it then. Yeah, she's like, oh,
basically she's bored with, her desk job and wants some action. There's kind of this is one of those scenes where I'm talking about where there's kind of a lot that happens, because not only is there, the brief meeting with Kendall and Jennings, but then Kendall gets introduced to Mary, and we learn that she's like a former professional tennis player.
Yeah.
And then we also, as Kendall's leaving, we also get introduced to another very minor character that I feel like was only established to die later. But this reporter, her name is Sylvia, she comes in to question Bracken about the goings-ons at the college, and he, he just stays tight-lipped about her and won't give her any information.
Nah, man, Bracken don't break.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you're right. I feel like that character was just introduced to sort of be a tool later,
Right.
And then so from there you kind of pick up with sort of what Mary at the college, I believe, playing tennis, right?
Yeah, she's playing tennis with one of the girls at the school that's one of the star pupils of the tennis team, we're led to believe.
Yeah.
And there's everyone, it's this big occasion apparently, because there's just all these different students around to watch. The dean's there. There's all the, Kendall's there. Everyone's there to watch this, game of tennis.
Yeah, I was like, man, this is an event.
Right.
It was kind of funny. It was all right. It was an all right game. I feel like they played their hardest. It looked like.
I mean, it was. I don't think. I guess. I can't name too many movies where there's a tennis playing scene. So as being a former tennis player, I'm cool with it.
It passes. Yeah. And again, so you have sort of the tennis match ends, and I believe there's another run-in with, isn't it the same reporter?
Yeah. Well, first the dean is talking with Mary, and he talks to her about no one knowing who she really is, and he also brings up the point where before she was brought to the school, Bracken and Holden were talking about bringing 2 detectives in, and Dean asked her, he's like, I thought there was going to be 2 of you, and she mentions, that's not the case. It's just me. And then, the reporter comes up and attempts to speak to the dean, but just like Bracken, he's tight-lipped and won't give her any information. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, he's nothing's happening here.
Right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Then we get another quick shot of it's not quick, it's actually kind of a drawn out scene, but we get another shot of the killer putting together the puzzle. But this one's just more drawn out, and in one part of it he actually has trouble putting the pieces in, which in my mind I'm like, why didn't they just reshoot that shot to be a more fluid shot of him putting together the puzzle? You know what I mean?
I know. I was like, why did they leave that in there? Because the dude struggles for a good moment or two. It's kind of interesting.
But again, anyway, this is my only harp on the movie is that there's no way that this puzzle existed in the 40s. I'm sure porn was some form of porn was around then, but you can just tell by the picture that this is a 70s or 80s porn picture. So for sure. And if it was in the 40s, it would have been black and white, and there'd have been a lot more Anyway, I don't know why I'm so hung up on this detail.
It is true though. It's I feel like they do a good job of for most of the movie, but that alone does kind of I don't know. It just seems out of time. But so after that drawn out sequence, I want to point out the earlier sequence of the killer moving the bag around, I thought was a really well paced sequence. This one, I think that was a little too drawn out. You know what I mean?
Totally.
It was they were using it as a bit of a time filler, I feel like.
Possibly.
But anyway, you pick up with back up at the jazz studio, I believe.
Yes, but now I don't know if it's the same girl from earlier that was stalked that went to the bathroom, but this time there's only one girl that's in there by herself, and she is practicing the same routine that they were doing earlier.
Yeah. So part of the troop either way or whatever they are, like you get a shot, I believe, establishing that the killer is for sure there because you see another shadowed, the shadowed figure in the window,
right?
And I think eventually, what is it? Like eventually she just turns off the tape and then, kind of gets creeped out by possibly some noises and then starts getting dressed out of her, into her streeties and turns off all the lights and heads right out the room. But she's not it's like this interesting sequence where it's like she leaves the room and then through the door, like a mirror,
a side door,
a side door, like the killer enters and you see the chainsaw silhouette with him, so the killer's there for some action, we'll say.
Yeah, and she's you can tell that she heard something that freaks her out because she's kind of it shows her as she's walking through, but she's kind of quickly rushing through trying to find a way out of here, and she eventually makes her way to an elevator, and it's I don't know which way the killer went, but somehow the killer's already there, and she gets startled by someone as she's trying to call the elevator, and we just see this gloved hand, and she walks into the elevator first, and it's pretty fucking hilarious. Like the girl wouldn't have seen this before, but the killer just walks in with the chainsaw behind his back. That would not be sneaky at all. If you were sitting there getting ready to get on this fucking elevator, you would notice this hooded, masked figure holding something behind his back. It's
yeah. It was the most it was just so strange. I was just because at first she gets startled a bit and then gets sort of put at rest because supposedly the person that entered or came up next to her, she looked like she maybe knew or something. She was just okay, and then
True.
The when they got on the elevator, you can clearly see the chainsaw poking out in her view.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And yeah, dude, but this was awesome.
It's another great sequence. Yeah.
They're riding the elevator at one point, eventually the shadowed masked figure, gloves up and puts the brakes on the fucking elevator and then just revs up the fucking chainsaw. And I mean, what are you going to do? You're now trapped in an elevator with this cat.
Jesus
this is legit no escape. The dude, but the sequence where you see the chainsaw lop off the lady's arm, man.
I think cuts off her left arm, and then it cuts away because she starts screaming, and then Kendall just happens to be in I want to word this correctly. He happens to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. Because
he's removing, he's getting ready to hop on his dirt bike, and he hears the screams, and so do these other two police officers, and they start running. He has to sneak in through a window to let the police in. So long story short, they make it there too late. They try to call the elevator. The elevator finally gets down to their floor, and they come in to find, the girl's very bloody body inside, missing both of her arms now. So if you're counting the score at home, the killer has taken a head, a torso, and now a pair of arms.
Yeah. So it's collecting something, we'll say. But I love the reaction. So Kendall opens the elevator and it immediately is just "Whoa!" And then one of the officers, I think, actually throws up in the scene.
He retches and throws up. Yeah.
And then they send off one of the officers to go. I think the guy that puked, he had to go. He goes off to call the sergeant and the lieutenant. And yeah, dude, I mean, it would be fucking gnarly to walk in on that, man.
Of course it would be.
But
yeah, we also, they're all, as the officers are there and the paramedics to clean up the scene and grab the body. We also, Professor Brown eventually shows up and There's just a real quick scene where Bracken questions him about his whereabouts and is like, good, I'll talk to you later. And then the dean also shows up to hear about now the third death. And it's just kind of quick. It's not really, consequential. It kind of more alludes to like these guys are maybe potential people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're potentially.
They always show up
suspect.
Yeah. We also get Kendall. Bracken basically is like talking with Kendall here, letting him know that he needs more help from him, and he wants him to keep an eye on Mary. And he also asks Holden to run a complete check, in his words, a complete check on the staff, full background in depth.
A complete background check. Yeah, it's interesting that they continue to rope in this college student Kendall as they go. Clearly he's like loosely associated, but he's associated because he's like on the campus and everything, and he's been around some of the scenes, but like he's just a fucking college kid.
Right.
But anyway, so yeah, that's to them it's just like it's only getting worse. It's just continuing to ramp up. Like nothing good is happening thus far in their investigation. Right. So they're just kind of like, all right, we need to go deeper. We need to anything's a possibility. But
right.
So after this whole sequence, then we get a nighttime scene, where it's like, who is it? It's like somebody's like lurking by the building.
Well, first we get so it's kind of established earlier through like a conversation between Kendall and his friend that Kendall's sort of a campus playboy of sorts, and he's shown in this scene where he's getting out of bed with a woman, and he kind of chastises her for being too loud in bed. And this is the scene where we see him hang dong. He gets up and he gets up and he looks out the mirror and he sees Mary walking around outside with a flashlight. So long story short, he gets dressed to leave, and the girl's like, well, if you stay and we do it again, I'll be quiet. You can gag me and all this shit.
Dude,
there's some bad dubbing in this scene. Yeah,
some really bad dubbing. It was just so noticeable. But yeah, that's who it was. It was Mary that was lurking around.
Yeah, and then we go follow her, and she's outside alone in the dark, walking around with a flashlight. And we also see, as she's walking around, we see shots of the killer's feet walking around in the heavy breathing. Anyway, so this is another one of the most ridiculous scenes. And after we talk about it, I want to briefly drop some facts about the person that plays this role. So we see Mary. She makes her way around the corner, and someone kicks away her flashlight. And then this is one of those like, what the fuck just happened moments. It's such a wow. It's
so I can't. I don't remember the character's name off the top of my head, but it's established. So this guy, Chow, just like kicks the fucking flashlight out of her hand, and like
he looks a lot like Bruce Lee too.
Definitely does some some moves, and it. How do I say it? It's basically established that he knows like kung fu or something. Obviously, he's in a tracksuit, just fucking jumping up on the lady, like pop, 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 and then the lady like kicks him in the fucking nuts or something like that, and he's just he's fucking out.
Because he does some kung fu moves and like thwarts her off and then knocks her to the ground. I love that word. But and then Kendall pulls up on his dirt bike. Right after this whole thing happened, and sees the guy getting up, and he's like, oh, Professor Chow, he's the Kung Fu professor. And then Chow makes this line where he's like, oh, I must have ate some bad chop suey.
Yeah,
it is so fucking random.
It's so fucking random. Like,
so this,
you never see him again.
No, it's so it is such an out of place sequence in this movie, but that's what I'm talking about, where this movie has so many elements, and this is one of those exploitation elements. So here's something funny. The person that plays this character, he has a real birth name, which I'm not even going to try to pronounce, but his stage name is Bruce Lee, but with one E instead of two on the Lee part. So I was doing some information, and around the time that Bruce Lee died, there's a and I just learned this last night, that there's a group, you know how there's like blaxploitation movies, and there's a set of movies called Bruce Lee exploitation movies, where apparently around the time of his death, all these different like low budget movie creators tried to cash in on that by making all these ridiculous like mockbuster movies of Bruce Lee, and he was one of the main people because he kind of looked like him. He starred and as all these characters, and even tried to cash in on that by having his name be Bruce Lee.
Oh my god, dude! What the f? That's fucking wild, man.
Yeah.
What the shit, dude? I have never even heard of that. That's fucking that's.
It's interesting, but it's such a
really
weird, out of place sequence. So anyway, after that happens, Mary hops on Kendall's dirt bike and they ride off. And then we see this character slink out of the darkness, and it's the reporter from earlier. And you get the shot where she's trying to sneak into one building, and as she's walking around, she eventually makes her way into another building, and lo and behold, the killer was stalking her and follows her inside.
Yeah.
And this whole sequence also gave me Jalo vibes, because what I'm talking about is where she stumbles into this weird building and goes through all these weird looking rooms, and she winds up in this like totally out of place room with a water bed and what looks like this weird like sliding glass doors, because as she's walking in, this bright light pops on and stuns her. And then the killer emerges from the other door, and it's just totally, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It was like a very interesting sequence, and like the bright lighting, like that's a good call out. But when the killer goes after her, man, like I loved this fucking sequence. Like this whole scene was so fucking awesome. The killer, like gets her, like, she like fumbles and like, onto the bed, and the killer like, I think stabs her in the chest. Repeatedly. Multiple times. And this is when like you're really like, once she's on there and like kind of flopping around, he's like killing, like stabbing her, you're just like, oh shit, that's a waterbed. Like at least I was like, oh shit, that's a waterbed. And then
I thought he was gonna drown her in it.
I was too, as soon as soon as he stabbed it and like the water started pooling up, and like the blood was clearly like awesome. Mixing with the water, and so it was just like this epic like pool of blood almost, just it looked visually really cool. But then when the final kill shot happens, dude, like
it is so great, because he like plunges the knife into the back of her head, and then we get this excellent close-up shot of her face and the knife, the killer's hand's holding the knife into the back of her head, and it's protruding out of her mouth, and it's fucking amazing.
Yeah, dude, it's a fucking awesome looking shot.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, you see the killer then kind of
drag the body away.
Yeah, you drag the body away, and then you get a quick shot of the freezer again.
Right, shortly after, that's true. And he also like he's putting the puzzle together again, but this time it's like 2/3 of the way completed.
Yeah, his vision's almost complete.
Yeah.
And I believe from there, doesn't it pick back up with Kendall and Riggs, Mary?
Well, but actually before the scene we just talked about, there's just a quick scene where Kendall drops her off at her room and tries to come in to drink coffee, but she turns him down. And then he turns around and gets jump scared by his buddy wearing a mask. Right. It's like a really random quick scene.
It's another random scene. It's like the dude wearing this like gruesome mask and goes like, Casanova, and then like runs off or something.
So weird,
like, what the fuck is up with this shit? Like, and
But then it's the next.
Kendall's just like,
But then it's the next day, and we see We learned the character's name is Susie, but which is of no consequence because she shortly dies. But anyway, we see this girl. Yeah, we see this girl playing tennis by herself. When all of a sudden this like loud music comes on over the speakers, and it must have annoyed her because she goes to leave the court. She goes into the locker room and showers. We get another tit shot. She's starting to get dressed, and all of a sudden you hear the chainsaw start up, and she sees the killer and starts running away. A slight chase scene ensues. And as this is going on, we see that Mary and Kendall are also outside making their way to the tennis court to play a game themselves.
Yeah. And oh my God, dude, I cannot speak to how annoying the marching band music or whatever it fucking was when it was like, because it just kept going. And yeah, so like they, basically they run into Willard. That's right, don't they?
Yeah.
Because they hear some sounds or whatever. Eventually they're trying to at first they're trying to fucking turn off the music, and that's when they run into Willard, and they're like, "Let us use your keys, man. Like, let us in to get the fucking sound off." And he's just like, "That." What does he say? He's like, "That's not." He says something like, "That's not my fucking business."
Right. He's like, "I just take care of the grounds." Like,
yeah.
But they do end up like going to the control room and turning off the music. But real quick, before then, like we get another great death scene where the girl like runs away. She makes her way into a back room.
Oh God, dude, yeah.
The killer saws through the door to get in, and then just fucking saws her in half. And there's a great shot like after he cuts her in half of just the wall and the blood splattering everywhere.
Yeah, dude. I really like the close-up shot of like the saw going through, like that. It was a cool fucking scene. Totally. And she probably has one of the most realistic moments where it's like, this dude's got you trapped. You're about to fucking die.
Oh yeah.
I'm pissing myself.
She pisses herself. That's right. But yeah, so she gets killed, and then the scene happens where we're talking about where they run into Willard. Mary goes with him to get the music off, while Kendall. We come back to see that Kendall has found the body, and they go in, and all it is the girl's upper half of her body laying there and with a pool of guts around her. It's great.
It's fucking like we were talking about the other scenes having some like awesome gnarliness. Like this scene was fucking gnarly, like that you walk in on. And then right after that you have just a great moment in cinematic history where like Mary Riggs goes back out there and it's just like she, like he got another one. She's so angry, and she just like at the top of her fucking lungs, just like bastard.
She says it like three. She's like bastard. She says it like 3 times.
Oh my God, dude, it was so fucking funny. It was like,
yeah.
Oh, she's passionate.
Then we get. Yeah, she is, but it's over the top. It made me laugh. I don't know if they were like playing for laughs there, but it made me laugh.
Yeah.
Then we get a quick shot of the killer where there's like, it shows just the lower half of this whoever's body's hanging from the wall, and he's trying on the pair of bloody shoes that were his mom's, but it seems like they're not fitting quite right.
Yeah, he like puts them on, and they just kind of keep dropping off a bit. Eventually, I think it seems like the killer just settles for letting him just sort of dangle there.
Yeah.
Nothing's perfect,
Right.
But then right after that, you have another. It's really interesting because like one of the reasons I think you are so suspicious of Professor Brown, which you have another scene with right here, is because they keep doing that. There will be like a killer scene and then like a Professor Brown scene. You know what I mean?
Right. It's true. It's true.
But you have like Mary who walks up to Professor Brown just leaving, one of the buildings on campus, and she's like, because of everything going on, do you mind if I walk with you? It's it's scary and whatnot, and. So they're walking and kind of having a casual conversation, but eventually she seems to like maybe pry too much.
Yeah, she tries to get some like information about the dean, essentially.
Yeah, and he kind of like gets all defensive of like, and you know, is like,
Yeah, he's like, for a new member of staff, maybe you shouldn't pry into people's lives or something like that.
yeah, and you know, so there goes the pleasantness from Professor Brown. You know?
He slinks off, and then Kendall runs into Mary and mentions that he's going to meet up with Sergeant Holden down at the police precinct to go through some old he's going to meet up with Sergeant Holden to go through some old records at City Hall.
Yeah.
And then Mary asks Kendall about where the dean's whereabouts and where he may be, and he kind of mentions, you know, he's out of town right now, but he'll be back at his quarters around 7 tonight.
Yeah, I love how specific and like on point he was.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, well, he's out of town, but he will be back at his quarters at 7. Like the fuck, Kendall? Kendall's got tabs on everybody on campus, man.
I guess
Nothing gets by this guy. He really runs campus. But anyway, so Kendall gets down to City Hall with the Sarge, and the Sarge seems pretty standoffish to the cat. You know,
totally.
What I mean? He's like, he basically just like hands him like a stack of files, tells him what to do, and go sit over there.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, because there's like a brief scene earlier where he's talking to Bracken, and Bracken's mentioning how he wants Kendall's help, and Holden's, you know, maybe the older statesman. He's been in the force for a while. He's kind of just like, you know, why do we need help from a college kid? He's sort of, you know.
Yeah. Well, and at this point, they're also kind of suspicious of him.
Right. Well,
like,
he is. Yeah.
And so it's sort of like, I mean, it makes sense. You know, you're sort of like, well, why bring him in closer? You know.
Yeah.
But yeah. And so, you know, so they're kind of setting about doing some more research. And then that's when I believe Mary does try to go up to the dean's.
Yeah, it might be, you know, it's presumably later, you know.
Yeah. It's 7. It's
Yeah, she goes to the dean's apartment, and with the intent of asking him a couple questions. He ends up inviting her inside, and he mentions that he's making tea and asks if she wants some coffee. So he goes into the kitchen, and he asks her how he wants her coffee, and she mentions she wants cream, please, but no sugar and a little bit of saccharin. And as he's making it, you see him like he has like a dropper of a vial, like, and has a dropper, and he puts some drops in it. You know what I mean? So
you don't know what it is, but it's suspicious as fuck. Right. Yeah. And then, so he kind of like, he, you know, brings out the set and kind of serves them up the coffee. And from there, you kind of like, you know, like something's about to pop off then. Like, yeah, she mentions how she wants to talk about Professor Brown to get some info. Then she kind of quickly drinks her first cup of coffee, and it shows him going back to get her a second cup. And she mentions that if they don't get information soon, they'll have to get a warrant to search the entire campus. And you can tell here that the dean's kind of visibly upset. Yeah, because he kind of, when he goes to get the second cup, he's a little more frantic this time, and like he's starting to get a little more like frazzled. You can, I suppose, as the scene goes on, and and then so it goes back down to like a shot with the Kendall and the Sarge, right? And they're I don't know, like they're following up on a fucking lead or something like that. Yeah, Kendall believes he may have found something. You know what I mean? And Holden reads the file, and he's like, "Oh, this man changed his name," and it doesn't tell who it is quite yet. So he's like, "I'm going to call Arlington Records to follow up on this lead." And we learn that whoever this person is that they're following up on, the character's name is at this point is John Reston. The long story short, Bracken calls and comes back and tells Kendall that it's the dean, and that he also mentions how his mother was chopped up when he was a kid, and it must have warped his mind. It must have warped his mind. My God, it most certainly did, because when you go back to the scene with the fucking... What? And that's when Kendall's like, Mary,
she's with the dean, and they set off to get her, and then we come back to the dean and Mary, and this is so random. So he comes back with the second cup of coffee, and he's like, "What were we talking about? Oh yeah, Professor Brown." And then I don't know why the fuck this is important, but he brings up the fact that Mr. Brown is a homosexual and all this.
Yeah, dude, it's so weird. Like, he says something like, but I don't, I don't mind as long as he keeps his affairs to himself or something like that.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything?
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, leave Professor Brown be, man. Like,
right.
It's so fucking weird. But he's just obviously at this point the dean is of heavy, you know that he's up to no good, and
right.
In this whole sequence, like, Mary kind of becomes paralyzed from the fucking drink, and it's like he seems to, like, at one point be staring at her, maybe her legs or her feet in particular or something.
Yeah, because he admits that he drugged her. Yeah, he's like, you're not going to be able to move, but you can still hear everything I say.
Yeah. And then he lays down like some plastic and shit. Like,
yeah, I think he was leading. He was, the other feet didn't fit the shoes, so maybe her feet will. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah. I think you're fucking right. And so so this is all going down. Meanwhile, the lieutenant, the sarge, and Kendall are buzzing up to the fucking building and getting to the door. I love that during this whole sequence, like, multiple times the officers are like you shouldn't even be here. Like, get behind us. Like, all this shit. And even to the point where, like, when they're trying to get into the dean's apartment or whatever, like that one officer throws Kendall against the wall, like it's pretty hard, and then blasts the door open.
Yeah, I love how he just, instead of like kicking the door down, he pow 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 shoots the fucking
just
door
shoots
handle
the
off.
fucking door handle off. And
Which you would think if they suspect that the dean is up there and has Mary, that they would want to try to slink in quietly, but no, they go the loud approach.
They fucking bust the hell in with that gunfire, and then they come across Mary, who's paralyzed, obviously, and they just they start like kind of like searching the room, and they can't find anybody. Mary can't tell them anything that's going on because she's in the state that she is, but she keeps looking kind of over towards the curtains a bit, and this is when, like, the lieutenant and the sarge sort of split off to keep searching, and they tell Kendall to take Mary downstairs.
Yeah,
whatever, right?
Yeah, he starts trying to pick her up to get her to walk.
Yeah, and so as they're kind of turning away and like getting towards the entrance, they you see the dean kind of poke out of the curtains with a blade. And like he eventually ends up like bum rushing him. I thought he was gonna fucking just get Kendall right there, dude, because he gets so close, and luckily
Kendall kind of he spins around just in time.
Well, dude, hey, apparently Kendall's been taking kung fu because that was his kung fu professor earlier, so he's nimble a bit.
Jesus.
And so Mary gets knocked down while Kendall's like struggling with the dean, and he gets eventually they struggle, they fall on the ground, and they kind of have a back and forth, and which gets really close to. I straight up thought Kendall was gonna fucking get hosed in this scene, and like
I did too.
Like I was like, damn, dude, they're gonna take out that dude this late in the movie. But eventually the lieutenant, I think, he busts in and just like one shot, boom, dude, offs the dude right in the forehead, and the dean perfect shot, dead center in the forehead, one shot. It was like some Dirty Harry type shit. Yeah, it was great. Yeah,
it was great.
And so that's it. Like the dean is out, man. And then basically, like they are kind of wrapping up the scene, and
they find the jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, they which is alone, it's just sort of like, okay, so I love that they were kind of like, look at this, thing. Like,
Right.
But what I loved was like, this movie's not quite fucking done with you yet.
No.
Right here.
No.
Because a couple of things happen.
Oh man, they're both great.
So the first one is, like I said, they're kind of wrapping up the scene, looking around, searching stuff, and the fucking Sarge at one point, he's kind of getting a little warm with Kendall now.
Yeah, like you should join the force,
Exactly, dude. He's like, oh, I finally got through Kendall was like, I finally got through to him, and then the sergeant leans on this bookcase.
Oh man,
and
that's great.
Spins around, and you see this Frankenstein fucking dead body that just flops.
Yeah, the human jigsaw puzzle.
The human jigsaw, right? And it flops right down onto Kendall.
Dude, his scream that he unleashes is so fucking great. He's like frightened. He's hysterical. I mean, rightfully so. That would be fucking traumatic because, like, as the body's falling, the dress is like pinned to the bookshelf and rips off. So it's just this naked, decomposing jigsaw body that falls on him.
It's so gross.
That would be traumatic.
Yeah.
And then it's like, it's obviously a little bit later. They're wrapping up everything they're doing there. There's sheets over the bodies now. Mm-hmm. And Holden's like, are you all right, kid? Are you ready to go? They're getting ready to leave. Kendall kind of stops at the feet of the jigsaw body with the sheet over it. And Holden's like, don't dwell on that. Like, let's get out of here. And Kendall was like, well, hang on, I need to get my jacket. And we get such an insane, over-the-top, fucking crazy-ass last shock scene that you do not fucking see coming. And it is so effective.
At all. He grabs his fucking jacket, and up fucking comes the arm on one of the arms from the dead body, the jigsaw body, and just like digs its nails right into the dude's dick and balls and like scratches down. It's bloodied all down there now.
Castrates the motherfucker.
And then castrates him, and there's like, you can even see like squeezes like whatever's left, and it's like, it's fucking gnarly.
It is.
And it ends with him like screaming in pain, and then there's like a still shot of his face in pain,
man.
and then the movie is fucking done. Like,
I've seen this movie a couple times, and that scene is just so shocking and effective. You're like, holy fucking shit.
Dude, I was blown away by it. I was like, what the fuck? It was awesome. It's
a lot to take
good.
because, like, I mentioned how the whole movie goes quick, but that last like 5 minutes is just so super quick with everything that happens with the dean, him getting killed, the great, I can't overstate this enough, the great sequence, and it's I'm overusing this, but very Giallo-esque, where the dead jigsaw body popping out of the hidden compartment in the bookshelf is fucking fantastic.
Oh man.
And that last man,
just all around, this movie was so entertaining. Like, it was so fucking great. To like, it had its bad moments, had a couple of like weird scenes, it had some like bad acting and all those classic things, but like the kills were awesome.
Oh, they were fantastic.
That ending was just like a shock. Like, yeah, definitely recommend. I highly recommend. Yeah, if you have not seen it and you're listening, see it. Definitely.
Totally.
My God, man. Yeah.
It's one of those movies where it's rightfully earned its placeholder as like a cult classic movie. You know what I mean?
For sure. What would you rate this movie?
I would, this movie is very entertaining, and it's like an hour and a half, but it goes by quick.
Mm-hmm.
I would rate it 4.5 bad chop suey inducing karate action scene out of 5.
Yeah, dude. I would rate this movie. Let's see. I would rate this movie 6 swimming net or pool net to the necks out of 8, honestly, because this was really fucking entertaining. Like it was just so much to enjoy.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah, Pieces. Like I said, if I think it's on Shudder right now, it's where we watched it. So if you have that access, make sure you pop it on. It's a great fucking like you said, hour and a half, like David said. It goes by quick, and you fucking enjoy it the whole way. So, much like this podcast, I believe you enjoy. We know you enjoy it. We appreciate that you enjoy it. We hot dogs, corn dogs, whatever you are. Thank you for listening, as always.
Yeah, thank you. And we do, in a couple episodes, we're gonna hit 40. We probably got something planned, and then a little while after that we'll have 50, and we'll definitely have something planned. So
50 is gonna be a banger. You know it.
There's a lot to look forward to.
Absolutely. I was talking about January flying by, but reality is, man, what I keep thinking about when I look at the whole year is how much we can fucking do, how many movies we can watch this year, like all those.
I'm also thinking that we did over Thanksgiving, we watched we did Blood Rage, which was like not necessarily a Thanksgiving movie, but also over Halloween we kind of did some more Halloween centered movies and talked about horror in general. And then over December we had a lot of Christmas horror centered movies. So I feel like maybe in February we might have a couple horror movies. Possibly could have a couple horror movies that are maybe Valentine's Day centered. You know what I mean? It's just not saying that's what
I am 100% on board with that. I think there's some great Valentine's Day movies that we can watch, as well as I wonder if we can find a Groundhog Day themed horror movie.
That I don't know.
I don't think so. I was just joking about that one.
Well, there might be like there are horror movies that have like a Groundhog's Day like Happy Death Day and its sequel involves like that kind of idea of reliving the same day, but I don't think there's any.
I don't think so either.
No.
But yeah, you're right, man. We got ideas turning. We got episodes that we're gonna keep burning out, and so it's something to look forward to every week for us, and I hope it's something to look forward to you listeners out there.
Totally.
All right, man. We'll leave this one there, but we'll see y'all next week.
Yes, we will.
Good night.